as we reset for the final few hours of our Saturday here at Tailem Bend. It's Ferrari time. Very exciting. The One Make Series is back for the first time since Sydney for round 5 of the Shannon Speed Series. I thought I'd jump on down and have a chat to Jim Pollicina, because in the Pirelli class, Jim, you are tied on points, and quite possibly you're one of the characters of this class. So I thought best to find out from you exactly how you're going to tackle this race this afternoon.
Yeah, we are tied on points, equal first with Anton. Obviously starting in P6 isn't ideal, so we'll try and get a decent start here and get rid of some of this traffic, and then try and chase Enzo and Anton down. They've got good pace, so we're just going to have to manage the race and stay with them as much as possible.
Certainly, and of course, talk to us. We've had the wind sort of picking up quite a lot at the moment. For yourselves, you kind of went out earlier in the day. Is that a factor for you guys in the Ferraris? The
direction of the wind sort of suits us in a couple of corners, so it's not the end of the world. It's a headwind coming down to the straight. So it's not as bad as it could be. If it was a cross breeze, then it'd obviously be a problem going through turn sort of 5. And for yourself, talk to us about this category. It's an awful lot of fun. Of course, it's stunning to look at. So, yeah, talk us through what you love about this category. Yeah, look, the cars are amazing. The camaraderie amongst the drivers is very good as well. It's probably the best I've experienced. It's also very much a family episode with the hospitality and you know, what the show that Ferrari put on is just amazing. Thank you very much, Jim. I believe Tom is with Enzo.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. I've got to jump off the grid because the cars are about to fire up, but I thought I'd quickly chat with our pole man, Enzo Cheng. A long run down to turn 1. You got clear track. What's the plan here, mate?
Yeah, it is a long run, so I think a good start here is more important than anywhere else, so I just got to beat Antoine to the trigger.
Well, best of luck. We look forward to seeing how you go and try and get another win outright. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Back to you guys.
Beat him to the trigger. I like that. That's the line of the day heading into race 1 of the weekend for Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli. Great to have Renato Liberto with us in the commentary box, joined also by our colleague Cameron Vanderdagen. This, guys, is going to be good for lots of different reasons. Ren, can we talk championship firstly, because there are 3 classes represented, and in the wake of qualifying this morning for this first race of the weekend, we can confirm that from a 488 perspective, we have basically a champion-elect. Mathematically, can't be beaten now.
Yeah, Micho Stefan in the 2-1-2 car. He's already pretty pumped. I said, mate, just get through the weekend first. You get the trophy on Monday night. But he's, you know, he's done a really top effort this year, really consistent, and also just improving across the season. So awesome result for him. But as they touched on the grid there with Jim and Antoine, it's actually 1 point between them. They do get a point for pole position.
But coming into the round, I think is where Charlie was going.
Exactly. Yeah, we're even coming into it, and as far as we're concerned, it's a 2-horse race here for the Trofeo Pirelli category. And then in Copper Shell, Enzo Cheng and David Trewern. I did the maths on this before to be 100% sure, and at this point in time, Enzo obviously is on 131 points with David on 98. But if Enzo was to DNF now and David clean sweep the weekend, they do finish tied on points for the championship.
Okay.
So let's see how race 1 goes for those two. But it is incredibly close, and you know, for our first season of full racing here, it's awesome to see that it is coming down to the final round.
Brilliant. And Cam and I are incredibly grateful that you were good at mathematics in high school, mate, because if that was left to us, it'd be not good.
There was a little paper clip that kept popping up offering help for me, so we're all good.
I was still looking for my abacus then, just to try and work it out.
Great story, this one. He's relatively new to car racing, has spent time with Ferrari on track days and things like that. He really applies himself as a driver to understanding and learning what is a new craft. But Enzo's come on in leaps and bounds this year, and to take the outright pole, as we take a look at some of the highlights from the qualifying session for you, it was an amazing story. Pole obviously in the Copper Shell class, but then to do it outright against Antoine Gattani. When we headed off for quali this morning, this one caught our attention. It was a pretty wild ride. You do need in parts of the international layout here at the Bend Motorsport Park to keep the car on the ideal line. If you get it offline and take turn 7, it can have a real knock-on effect at 10 and so on.
That's right, Russ. And that was just a case of being in that wrong position, running wide onto some sort of, you know, the marbles and losing a bit of grip there. But what we probably saw in terms of the overall field as well is that classic towards the mid and end of quali, the cars are putting their best times down. And that's really going to be an interesting situation where we've got Enzo on the limited run tyre and Antoine running a little bit longer in the session, those two, but also that mid-pack where we've got a second covering about 5 cars. There's going to be a lot of action in that sort of third and fourth and fifth and so on.
Enzo was able to come into the lane, debrief with his driver coach in Ben Porter there, and then they parked the car up for 19 minutes. He was the only driver in the 1 minute 49s. Antoine Gattani, footnote to that story, it did seem like he was on for a lap that may have got close or even challenged for the pole, but there was some dirt on the road, bit of an issue from a traffic perspective, and that thwarted his chances. So we've just seen the field of play here. 18 corners in all. The Bend Motorsport Park has multiple layouts, including a massive one for for GT3 spec cars and so on, that is some 7Ks long. But we're using the international layout, just a fraction under 5Ks long, and it is a really cool offering, if you like, a very cool track for these cars.
That's right. It's very much mimics what we see in Europe for the GT racing. Very wide corners, wide straights, but a real mix of mid and high speed, as well as a couple of slower hairpins and 90-degree corners. So it means there's plenty of passing opportunities. But from a driving point of view, even if you're not racing, driving around this track is just spectacular.
So let's talk about a couple of those passing opportunities, because once you do get past that hairpin at turn 6, it actually is a bit of a difficult place to pass on the back part of this circuit. Turn 1, probably the best opportunity you have on a passing. I'll get there eventually, sorry. Turn 1's probably the best one because that long straight that's down there. The hairpin's a good one, but that run between 5 and 6 might not be long enough for some of these drivers. And with the ABS, I think the advantage you might get under brakes is probably negated. Outside of that, you'd be opportunistic at 17. It's probably not a huge amount of opportunity for them.
No, and look, into 17 is probably one of the ones you mentioned, ABS there, Cam. I've noticed on data and watching some onboard, 17, there's actually quite a bit of bumping going into 17, and the drivers that are on that threshold, the ABS is pushing them a little bit long. It even caught out one of our most experienced guys, Rod Wilson, during practice. And it is an opportunity there, but it's going to have to be, you don't want to lose too much out of kind of making that move and then get taken again for the long straight. So
a little look at the start list for you, how the entries that we have for this round of the series, and you'll note the classes to the far right of your screen there. So Enzo Cheng, for example, has pole in outright terms, but he's also the pole sitter in the copper shell class, and he's the series or points leader in that class as well. We've just talked about Micho Steffen and what the job that he has done this year in the 488 class, and a great roll-up in Trofeo Pirelli, and a lot to play out. Antoine Gattani, Jim Pollicina, just a tantalising points battle going into the final race of the weekend between the pair of them. And Jim's a racer. I mean, he's not necessarily started the weekend in the form that we perhaps would have expected from him, but you watch him charge in the race. That's a little bit of a trademark of his, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's been his own best critic about that in terms of his performance in practice and quality, sort of feeling like he's really kind of, every time he's jumping in the car for a race, he's sort of getting back in the rhythm and sort of overtaking people, making it a bit harder for himself each race, if you like. But he's definitely showing more pace as the season's gone on, as he's got more comfortable with this sort of high aero GT car.
How's the sleep, mate? The Motokinetic team have worked incredibly hard on this series. A lot of long nights, late nights.
I can't watch this, to be honest.
You do a great job, and we'll showcase a few of them in this race. The lineup of drivers that act as coaches for these competitors is terrific. It's a great progress system, if you will. You can come in as a passionate Ferrari owner, get a bit of exposure to track days, and then you know what, if the bug bites and you want to go racing, this is the way that you can go about it. And the framework, let me tell you, is there in every kind of detail to support the driver. Engineers, driver coaches, you name it, and it is a very professionally run series. We're about to get the second last race underway for 2025. Far right is Enzo Cheng, the pole sitter in that blue entry. Antoine Gattani will try and take the fight to him at Bathurst and at lots of other tracks through this championship. He's been a star. He started very well here. He's not got the ideal line as they go down into one. This is a battle of the breakers. Who is bravest? Gattani has to yield in the end. Now he gets through.
He's poked the nose of it. Now we've got the changeover here back into turn 2, into turn 3. Enzo's going to have the inside line, and Cam, you touched on here, turn 5. It's almost like a chicane. In these cars, it's fifth gear, almost full noise, 240 k's an hour coming through this next left-hander. It really is a single line.
Two very different races in I guess, personality or nature in some respects as well. Antoine gets out of the car. He almost muscles the car when you look at the body language behind the wheel, and when he's chasing someone like Enzo here, that fires him up. I talked before about the almost methodical approach of Enzo Cheng. He's been really good. Every time he gets behind the wheel, we see some sort of improvement, some sort of gain from him, don't we?
And it's a really mature mindset, and every time this year we've heard him interviewed on the grid, he just seems so calm and so calculating in the way he's thinking about the start of the race, and he's really doing a top job as well. You know, these two guys are going to probably gap the rest of the field, but the pressure's on.
That almost experience, which is strange to say when you're talking about two different classes, and particularly the Copper Shell, which is arguably the lesser of the two categories in terms of experience, but the way they were able to stay side by side through turn 1, 2 and 3 spoke volumes to both drivers. But Enzo Cheng, as we mentioned before, yellow windscreen banner suggests that he's not of the same level as Gittani, but the reality is they're racing beautifully out here at the moment. Nice, clean driving, gave each other enough racing room, but they were both very aggressive off the start as well.
That's right, Cam. It's probably worth noting for the viewers as well that whilst they're a different windscreen colour banner, that is based on driver experience, not car performance or car modification. So they are exactly the same car here, just a different classification of driver.
And let's, you know, knowing what Enzo is like, he loves the thought of benchmarking himself against Antoine Gittani. That's a huge thing for both of them, as it's turned out, because even Antoine on the radio on Friday, what's Enzo doing? You know, they're in the same garage, and here they are now battling away. Now, as they came through turn 13 last time by, Antoine was closer to Enzo than he is now. Is aero wash a thing for the car following? Does that affect them, and what have you got to do?
No, spot on, Rusty, and it's certainly more noticeable in the faster corners. You know, when you've got that car in front punching a hole in the air, there is a little bit less air in some cases, and depending on your distance behind, the turbulent air coming off the rear wing can really affect the front end of the other car following. So it is definitely a part of it, and in some cases around here, you don't have the opportunity to offset or position your car along the side into cleaner air because there is one line through sometimes. So it is a bit of a trade-off, and we spoke before about overtaking opportunities. You really have to be working with your engineer and driver coach here to really sort of, I guess, evaluate where is the best spot for me to try and make an overtake where I can gain the advantage.
Jim Pollicina has made his way up to third place. While we were watching these two battle, I think it was in the second last corner, there may have been a little moment for David Trewern. The car wasn't ideal on that first lap, but Pollicina's been able to get by them now, and Trewern's got his hands full there. That's Cam Campbell, I think, isn't it? In the 23, right on the tail of David Trewern. So a few good battles starting to unfold here in the early phase of this one.
And in quali, this is that pack that I was talking about, where there was 5 cars within about a second. So these guys are all running at about the same lap pace. And you know, we see Eamon Lorden there, the local in the background. He's really showed some pace this weekend so far.
He's absolutely with them. Fastest lap so far is Enzo Cheng with a 1 minute 52.13 in qualifying trim. The race leader got down to a 49. There's the gap between second and third. Lights on there for Jim Pollicina.
And Jim's probably hoping, you know, if he can sort of build some pace up and keep a little bit of pressure on, that he can start chasing them down. And if they cause each other to have a little bit of a moment, then he might have a chance of obviously scooping up some points.
Now, I do think, I'm question marking here, but I do think that's a little timing gremlin that's crept in there, because Gittani's showing as 14th on your totem, your graphic there. It's now just adjusted. He's gone back to his rightful second place.
So leaders making their way through turn 10. And they've really gapped everyone else, haven't they? Pollicina, he's 6.3 seconds off the lead, 5.5 seconds off second place. So they've checked out. They're off to the races, Cheng and Jidney. Pollicina, Trewern, Campbell, top 5, Norden and Taguchi. He's dropped back to 7th now after doing a great job in qualifying.
And I wonder if there's a bit of strategy here with Enzo. He knows he's got tyres that are 3 laps newer than Antoine. If he pushes on now and Antoine tries to keep up, he's just going to accelerate the loss of grip on Antoine's car and probably force him to either make an error or just lose off the back of him, which could then play into the hands of Jim Pollicina. So Jim better keep his eyes on here, because there's a really good opportunity for him to close in on Antoine on points.
Talked about the little drama for Rod Wilson in qualifying. He's 8th at the moment, and he's worn both kind of team boss cap at Zagami there during the year, and was behind the wheel at Bathurst and is back behind the wheel again here now, just through kind of set of circumstances that opened the door. He just happened to have everything he needed here with him too to do it. Gattani, 152.06. It's down to 0.4 between them. Antoine Gattani, it's now starting to come alive. So, you know, they operate out of the same garage there, but they can have a few different philosophies in what they might have done slightly different in tyre pressure terms coming into the race. Someone might have gone, you know, aim for something that came up to temp quicker and so on. Others might wait to turn it on.
Exactly, and obviously we're also running out of the same garage, in some cases the same coach and engineering cars here. They are open to their own setup parameters in the vehicle, so suspension, ride height, alignment, wing settings are all, you know, specific to the driver's feedback and interest. And obviously the cars will behave differently, and exactly as you said, Rusty, for me it's about tyre strategy with these two, and I think Enzo might have played that card better with sitting at 19 minutes of a 30-minute qualifier. He's going to have much fresher tyres here for race one.
But when you look at the sectors, Rusty, in particular, it's actually Cheng who still holds the fastest second and third sector times outright. So it was mainly the damage was done in that first sector. So incredible first sector for Antoine. But on that, did you see that? We've seen it a couple of times, and I know you're probably all over it, Ren. That aerial shot at turn 6, the different lines between the two. Antoine stays very shallow on entry in particular, whereas you can see Enzo runs a much wider line out there, and it looks deliberate. I've seen it now at least 3 or 4 times, so it looks like they're running exceptionally different strategies on their racing lines.
I did have my listening device on from my office down in the engineering suite earlier on today, and one of the things Ben was talking about with Enzo was actually that kind of using the aero a bit more on entry, so releasing the brake a bit earlier, rolling the car in with a bit more road speed, but taking a wider line to do that, so the car rotates a little bit better with the aero grip on the car. So that's probably the best example of that, is that aerial shot showing exactly the, you know, there's multiple ways to skin a cat around a racetrack in these cars, but that's a real demonstration of that sort of, I guess, that driving technique to extract the performance from the vehicle.
We're coming up to that spot now. So as they make their way up through what would be turn 4, now through turn 5, exceptionally quick. It's actually a lot tighter than the Ferraris make it look when you're out on track. But what's this line we were talking about through this hairpin? You'll see, just lets the car drift, runs wider, and it was a bit of a different angle there, but
you can even see Antoine, though, he's over the curb, and Enzo was very clear of the curb as well, so it's still quite noticeable. And also, the wider line does have a less of an impact on the tyre.
Well, that was what I was going to say. It's particularly on the fronts, when you really load up on those tyres on a skinnier entry, that's going to reduce your tyre life.
Absolutely, and you know, the aerodynamics can only do so much that the tyre will offer up in terms of grip at the time. So it is a really good way of managing the tyre's life as well.
Gap is out now to just over a second. You can see that on screen there, and in part that is because last time by, Enzo Cheng set another fastest lap of the race, a 151.68. He again continues to light up the monitor for us, our timing monitor, in the second and third part of the lap. If we divide it into 3 sections for you, in sector 2, he's just gone the fastest that we've seen in this race, and will potentially do the same as we come through the final sequence of corners here. This may even take it down to a 1 minute 50, or very close to 1 minute 50 territory. So it's now 1.1 seconds. He's continuing to build here. What can Antoine Gattani do in response? Let's check the lap time for you. It's a 151.33. He shaves another 0.3 of a second off it.
And Rusty, I was just standing up then as they went through to have a look at the flags. There's definitely still a strong headwind blowing down that front straight, so not going to do the best for them in terms of their VMAX or their top speed down the front straight, but it certainly will help with stability in braking. And I noticed that in quality, where some of the cars are running a little bit less free wing, in that big dive into turn 1, a lot of rear end movement in the cars, which we do see when they start running that lower wing angle.
Notice the difference between the two cars there. The feature, if you like, at the pointy end of the field is the newer generation, the beautiful 296. But we have some 488s in the field, very different sounding car, and it's kind of nice that we tipped the hat to the previous generation.
Absolutely. I mean, it's still a car that's used all over the world with Ferrari Challenge in some way, and you know, to still have a twin-turbo V8 sitting in the grid, just sweet. A fantastic sound. Yeah. And you mentioned the sound. It is still nice to hear a flat plane V8 soaring down the front straight here. It really cuts through.
So we'll check again as we get to sort of sectors 2 and 3 here for Enzo. It's status quo. It's about 1.3 seconds now. The thing for me will be, with just on 15 minutes remaining, can Antoine Gattani respond? Has he kept a little bit in the back pocket for the second part of this race? You listened earlier today to what I think was the sound of the tyres protesting in the cooler conditions this morning. Just explain that. You could actually hear it here in the commentary box, couldn't you?
That's right, yeah. On the ambient sort of camera microphones we're hearing through our headsets, I can hear that front tyre kind of having a chattering noise on the slower corners, and a few of the drivers that I could see with that warm-up procedure being sort of 3 or 4 laps this morning, you could really see in some of the slower corners like turn 6, turn 13, turn 17, you could hear that chattering front tyre. Not so much of that now, obviously, as the ambient temp and the track temp has come up, but certainly in the cooler conditions it was audible. So there's been a response as far as Antoine Gattani is concerned, and he's shaved about 0.3 of a second off it. Enzo Cheng leads the way. Jim Pollicina is third.
Back down to the hairpin, turn number 6, and it looks like he's tightened up the line through there, has Enzo Cheng. Not rolling out as wide, looking a bit less confident with that car at this point of the race. 14 minutes remaining, 1 second the gap between first and second. Enzo Cheng leads from Antoine.
Tell you who we need to keep an eye on as well is Cam Campbell. He's cutting into the buffer between he and Jim Pollicina, currently in third. It's only 2.5 seconds between those guys. It was out to more than 3 seconds. So Cam Campbell's found a little something here and is continuing to eye up a spot in the top 3 at the end of this one. It was announced, remember, at the Ferrari Festival that Cameron Campbell will be racing a 296 GT3 in GT World Challenge Australia next year. And there's certainly been some rumours that that car, which we saw unveiled in the pit lane at Sydney Motorsport Park as a part of Ferrari Festival, which was awesome, some rumours that maybe it might show up across the ditch for the final round at Hampton Downs in New Zealand. We'll wait and see.
No comment from me, Rusty. What would I know? But it's actually quite interesting. Cam's obviously having a spectacular race so far. His driver coach, Josh Buchan, who we know well, will be running with him in that outfit, in that GT3 car. But Josh has actually already left today because he's got TCR duties abroad, so he's heading over to China to race there. And Cameron putting on a fantastic display. Josh is probably watching online.
Gap is 2.3 between Campbell and Pollicina, but it's Cheng leading the way from Antoine Gattani, with Jim Pollicina holding down third place at the moment. It's going to be a fantastic fight for the overall championship tomorrow. Ferrari Challenge continues live here at the Bend Motorsport Park, the first of 2 races for the weekend. Greg Russ, Cameron Van der Duggan, and of course Renato Liberto, I'm talking about, who runs and coordinates so much with this series for the customers to enable them to go racing. And it's been a great first year. They've been with us for much of the tour as a part of the Shannon Speed Series, and we've thoroughly enjoyed it too. Some great venues for the competitors to, from Mount Panorama Bathurst to kick things off. Bit of a move there at the hairpin, gets it done.
That's Paul Brockbank, one of our debuts this weekend in 488s, running the car that Jared Ferrari's run with great success this year. So he's jumped in for his first run. He's doing a fantastic job into P10 outright at the moment, just behind the class champion now, Micho Steffen. So what if he's going to want to put his stamp on this last round? Hey, I beat the champion.
Always good to have bragging rights, isn't it? Margin remains the same up in front, 1.3 between Cheng and Gattani. We're keeping an eye on this battle here because
that's Rob Wilson, of course, with the eyes on now.
And he's eyeing up 7th place. So this is for position here. The Rod's at the tail of the group. Oh, gets a little bit loose.
That's
Taguchi.
Masahiro there. He's probably looking in the rear vision camera more so than what's in front of him. But Rod's obviously keeping the pressure on. And you mentioned before, Rod's running a team of 3 cars here this weekend and racing himself. But what probably hasn't been told yet is the story of the 3 cars that needed major repair work from the last round. There was a big altercation in Sydney, and they literally finished that car on Thursday morning. to have it ready for shakedown on Thursday. And here it is racing and being competitive this weekend. So hats off to Rod and his team. That was just a superhuman effort for those guys for the last 6 weeks.
Big moments too, up against concrete barriers at Sydney Motorsport Park. We've been lucky with how the racing's been going, as Wilson now has a look at Taguchi down into turn number 1. Won't get it done through this part of the track.
And again, this is where we'll see, Taguchi's very, very experienced driver over here, but also in Japan in various sort of like radicals and prototype cars. So very, very quick behind the wheel of a car. But again, the racecraft and experience of someone like Rod, who's been racing for a very, very long time, will probably just apply the thumbscrew pressure, just keeping it on and on and on, waiting for Masahiro to make that small mistake and then make the clean pass, hopefully.
Keep him looking at the screen, the rear view screen, and he might get it done here. Rod Wilson makes the move on Taguchi-san up into 7th place now. And that, I think, is David Trewern, not all that far up the road ahead, is it? So that's the next target now, I think, for Rod Wilson.
Yeah, Trewern's been showing some fantastic speed this weekend. He shot to the top of the timesheets early on in qualifying, and then I think as the track evolved and everyone else sort of got a bit more confidence, he sort of worked his way back down. But he's really loving his racing, David, and really applies himself. And you mentioned about some of our coaches and support staff. Lockie Manif running in the GT4 this weekend as his driver coach. And they do iRacing together, talking about racecraft and learning it via simulators, one in Sydney, one up in Queensland. He really does apply himself outside of these rounds, and he just loves the racing as well.
And Lockie, I saw at one point it was Friday or Saturday, not qualifying, it must have been Friday, came running in the suit that we're used to seeing him in for GT racing, and then he bolts back out again, doesn't he? So
he's got a schedule busier than ours this weekend. He's in between. He's actually got a little scooter to get between the GT4 paddock and ours, just to make sure he gets there in time. But yeah, Lockie working super hard, and we've actually got a few of our Ferrari crew helping him in the race this afternoon.
Oh, that's great.
You should see a bit of red in pit lane supporting him.
That's terrific. So,
and yet we're seeing a bit of blue in Monza.
That's right. Yeah,
Ferrari.
That's
Ferrari.
Right.
A little bit Ferrari blue, Rusty. Seeing it out there on track as well. Cheng controls this one. The gap has dropped to 8/10, but back out to 1.2, so it's just yo-yoing slightly out in front. 8 minutes, 20 seconds remaining.
And Campbell there really started to put the pressure on Pollicina. I don't know if maybe Pollicina's sort of setup-wise, he's gone a little bit aggressive on the tyre pressures, and it's not paying off now as the race is progressing on, because Cam's really turning the heat up now.
He'll get him very shortly.
8 minutes remain in this race. Enzo Cheng, fastest lap of the race with a 1:51.33. He leads by 1.4 seconds over Antoine Gattani, who I thought may have started by about now to be eating more significantly into that. So credit to Enzo Cheng, good driving. Here's our race leader. And Pollicina and Campbell, as you saw there a moment ago, there's less than about half a second between the pair of them as they fight over 3rd place. There's Gattani. Let's have a look at what the gap is like this time by. Is there any change? Is there any reduction? Stays at 1.3 seconds. Just the way that they're going through turns 1 and 2. They're going about it in different ways, Cam, aren't they? The pair of them. So
yeah, he's not able to take advantage where he's got the strength in the car. The 44. And that's Wilson. He's through on Trewern.
Yep, up into 6th place now. And is setting some personal best sectors, Cam. So he's got some...
He's inside the top 6. The gap is a little bit of a bridge too far. 4 and a bit seconds. This is the move. So that's Wilson.
On David Trewern. Gets it done.
4.2 seconds is the gap at the moment. So he's got a bit of work cut out for him. This is the battle over 3rd. The final step on the podium. Campbell threatening. But Pollicina holding on. 6.5 minutes remaining plus 1 race in race 1 for the Ferrari Challenge.
Let's go to the lane, get an update, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. Now, I'm down here with someone who's been involved in motor racing all her life. Melissa Roberts, you've got your dad, Rod Wilson, out there on track. You've got one of your boys out racing up in Coffs Harbour. You're married to, well, my team manager at Tickford. What's more nerve-wracking?
Well, as we were heading out to the grid walk before, I was watching my son doing go-karting on the screen with heat and then, popping Dad in the car. So, look, the heart's racing all the time. Always nervous as a mum and as a daughter. So, no, I love it though. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, so Rod stepped in this weekend to race. What were the first thoughts when you found out he was going to be getting back behind the wheel and you had to be here for the whole weekend?
Oh, we've just obviously passed someone else, which is great. Look, I love any opportunity to watch Dad. And as I've been watching him since Oscar days. So very proud of him. Love to watch him race and see him out there going fast and enjoying it and smiling. It's the best part. So when he gets that call up, I'm always wrapped.
Now, that's fantastic to hear. Are we taking you away from having to talk to Rod? Are you on a direct line here with your dad? Because that would be quite awkward.
I'm just race management control. I'm only on RMC, but I secretly do hear it, listening now and then.
Oh, great. We'll need to get back to the last few minutes of this one, Melissa. Thank you.
Thanks.
And the reason for the cheers, Tom, was because Cam Campbell has made his way past Jim Policina into third place. So great drive by Cam Campbell. So it's Cheng from Gattani by 2 seconds now. So Enzo, full credit, has been able to extend to build on that lead over Antoine Gattani, and Campbell is now up into third.
To give you an idea as well, I just want to jump back in. Mel mentioned Oscar. Did you hear her say Oscar? Yeah. The first Oscar race at Calder Park Thunderdome was back in 1988, Rusty. So you talk about some longevity in racing. How good is that to see Rod Wilson out there behind the wheel?
And talking in a generational sense, keeping an eye on what's happening in the Australian Karting Championships, which you incidentally can see on the screens of 7.2 on 7+. So nice to see the youngsters up there at Coffs Harbour. Hopefully one day strutting their stuff and maybe taking aim at something like Ferrari Challenge.
Hey, Grandpa, can I borrow your car, mate? I'm sure Mel can sort that out. And we have Michaud and Paul Brockbank. So I wonder if Paul has caught up to Michaud there. I mentioned that before. Here's a replay. Hopefully we see what's going on here. That's Paul Brockbank in the 277. Michaud with a lose in front, it sounds like. Very quick part of the track.
Does that get back to what you were talking about before? It was 0.3 between them. Brockbank maybe keeping the pressure on, and did that sort of, is that an error, forcing him into error in some respects?
I think so. I mean, they're obviously, they're racing for their own podium, their own top step in their class, but the championship has been won, so I think there probably is a fair bit of pressure on the back. They'll be interesting to watch the in-car footage at the end.
Rod's about to get a top 5 here. He's ripped seconds per lap. It's now about to be a move and put him inside the top 5. This is an outstanding drive. It'll be too far to get onto the back of Policina.
And this is team principal about to overtake customer here as well. So Rod's just repaired that yellow car, so he's going to be extra careful.
He didn't back out of it early.
He doesn't want to do it again, yeah.
Should I, shouldn't I?
Oh, the racer will kick in, though. You know the racer will kick in, Ren.
And Abel here, a local driver, home track. Dean Canto's his driver coach as well, so a hugely experienced racer as well. He's probably going to be in the year right now as well. He's not going to give anything back to Rod, I think.
I love the way that they have, as a part of the wrap or the paint scheme, there's some markings on that around stitching it back together, basically, isn't there?
It was very much so. You can see in the front quarters of that yellow car, the 100. The big stitch marks on there is a bit of a joke with Amel, but fantastic again, as I said, to see these two cars back out racing after some huge repair requirements and a massive effort by the team. But Amel didn't have the best round previously at Sydney Motorsport Park, but seeing him out here on track now and sitting up in the top 5 is a fantastic effort from him.
I can just imagine the radio chat from Dean Canto. There is no way he will want to relinquish that. He's still super competitive.
There he is. He's a Rod who? That's what he's saying.
And isn't his son's racing this weekend as well?
First Focus Radical Cup. So I tell you who'll be ultra pleased about that is Grandad Rocky Canto up in Sydney there in the northwest. I reckon I can recall him taking a young Dean Canto to places like Lithgow for karting as a youngster, and now here we go. The next generation is into it. Tremendous. A minute and a half remain in this first one of the weekend for Ferrari Challenge Australasia. Enzo Cheng with a 2.1 second lead, fastest lap of the race so far. Cam Campbell in the 23 that you're watching here at the moment, who will make his GT3 debut in one of these cars, most likely in 26, as we said before. Rumours that it might join a GT3 World Challenge powered by AWS at the next event at Hampton Downs. Wilson gets it done. That is up into position 5 now. Good work in the Zagami Autosport entry. He's made it up. I mean, if there's a a trophy for moves of the race, or he's got it, hasn't he? Great work.
Outstanding drive from Rod Wilson. It's just all been racecraft too, hasn't it?
Yeah, just maintaining that good average speed throughout the race has been the key thing, I think, for seeing him perform. But what I was interested in watching before as well is Jim Pollicina almost let Cam Campbell through earlier and is now putting pressure back on him towards the end of the race. I just wonder if that was a strategy of Jim's to sort of let the tyre recover a little bit and just sit on the back of Cam and just keep that pressure on and try and pressure him, because Jim has still got to consider that he still needs to try and get as many points as possible. If Antoine's going to take out the top step for his category, Jim still needs to get as many points as he possibly can in that category to try and keep him in with a chance.
This is important because I think our leaders actually went through, so we're going to have at least 2 more laps in based on this.
And there's a lot of flashing there from Enzo, letting him know that they're coming through, so we're still going to have at least that 1, maybe 2 laps here to get them through.
So if it is 2 more laps, that might be enough for Pollicina, because it's 3/10 the gap now. Maybe enough. Right at the back end of this race. Cheng's cleared out. He's off to the races. 2.2 seconds clear. What a drive from him.
And here's that battle. Pollicina there in the rear of Campbell in the 23.
0.3 between them.
That little bit of an overlap to let him know he's there in the mirrors, and then tuck back in to optimise his run into turn 3 here. Jim is really going to put the pressure on now.
So the way the regulation is traditionally written, time counts down, then it's 1 more lap. And I was looking at that. I'm pretty sure they broke the beam, so it'll be 1 more lap remaining after this. Race control can make another call, but we'll see them. There's plenty of time. So this battle rages for the final spot on the podium.
And we spoke about those opportunities to overtake. Where do you think he's going to have a go, Cam?
Wherever there's an opportunity is probably the answer I'm going to give you with Jim Pollicina. He's going to try and force a mistake. Ren, this is... you see this day in, day out. At this level of racing, the idea from a Jim Pollicina will be flash the lights, force a mistake, and then take advantage.
Exactly. I think it's going to be... There's not a huge amount of distance between the final turn and the start-finish line to get that launch out of there. So it's going to have to be under brakes. It's going to have to be into the next 2 or 3 corners that we're going to see this happen.
Now, if you sit down and compare their motor racing careers, obviously Jim's been around longer, has raced in things like, older generation supercars and things of that nature. Cam Campbell is relatively newer. The pathway for him, if you graphed it, is like a spike. It's far different to Jim's in that regard, and did a lot of the early groundwork overseas. But what we should say about his Ferrari Challenge experience here, Ren, is that he's competed in Europe at places like Paul Ricard in 2024, didn't he?
That's right. He debuted with Challenge in Paul Ricard and had a great effort over there in the 296, actually. So of our grid, he was the first person of our grid to have driven a 296 Challenge, actually. And he did a great job over there, and then migrating back here to Australia to obviously to run in our series. But he's really, shown his maturity again as a driver and that racecraft. He's really thinking beyond his sort of experience would suggest.
All right, this is the lap he has to get it done on. Race leader is just about halfway round now. In fact, he is halfway round on his final lap. And this is the final spot on the podium with Campbell half a lap away from holding on to it.
I'd love to know, a bit more about Antoine Gattani's situation here. 3.5 seconds. Is it a case of he's thrown everything at it and can't, for whatever reason, catch Enzo Cheng, and is just thinking about it from a class perspective? Maybe he doesn't need to worry about it so much, but I mean, he's the kind of guy, when he gets the bit between the teeth, he would have loved to have tried to wrestle that away from Enzo Cheng, but that's a great drive by Enzo. We're in the final sector now for the 117. Enzo Cheng only has a handful of corners left to go. We're keeping a watching brief on this battle here because Pollicina is eyeing up, I think, a last corner move, or maybe the last couple of corners, to snatch that 3rd place away from Cameron Campbell. Into the final corner for our race leader. Here he comes now. Enzo Cheng, what a story in 2025. The emergence of this racer from learning in road cars and then mastering the craft in Ferrari Challenge and winning races in an outright sense for a copper shell driver. Brilliant performance here on Saturday at the Bend Motorsport Park. Gattani gets home in 2nd. Campbell will hold on, I think, to 3rd place.
There it is. They're going to have a no opportunity. I don't think he's going to be able to get the move done. Jim Pollicina is going to have to settle for 4th. But outstanding drive. Cam Campbell, massive pressure applied for the last 3 laps, and he stood up to it.
Yeah, handled it superbly, Cam, didn't he?
Polisina threw everything at him. He tried to force a mistake, but Cam Campbell, he was well and truly up to the task.
I think I just saw then Taguchi on turn 17 just running deep there as well, so I think he may have just lost it. I know he's recovered the position. I thought he may have just lost that position there, but a great drive by Rod Wilson as well to kind of recover that many positions and keep his nose clean on the way through.
Now they went off and they found themselves battling again. They both went off before, and this is for 488, so Brockbank and Micho Stefan in front at the moment coming into the final corner, and we know that from a championship perspective he's got it sorted, but Brockbank would love to have done the job. Well done in 488 to Micho Stefan, the champion-elect coming into this race, but has mathematically put it beyond doubt. Awesome work, great stuff.
And that'll make for some interesting onboard viewing with Steve Owen, our DSO, at the end of the day, I'm sure.
So here's the final results for you. Enzo Cheng takes it out by 2.9 seconds from Antoine Gattani. Cam Campbell home in 3rd place ahead of Jim Polisina. We will crunch some numbers and what all that means, given that Jim has finished there in 4th place. Enzo, from a copper shell perspective, is looking very much like he will have put that beyond doubt. We'll confirm that for you. Highlights for you, thanks to Maguire's of Ferrari Challenge here. Race 1 of the weekend at the Bend Motorsport Park. The view from up in the starter's box there as they went down into turn 1. It's a little awkward. Antoine Gattani recovered, then looked like sticking the nose just in front, but Cheng fought back and kept the race lead from that point onwards.
And as Cam said, Rusty, for those 2 cars to basically run nose to tail side by side for 4 or 5 corners was great respect and really great driving.
Here's an early move by the driver who would ultimately, in that 23, finish in 3rd place, Cam Campbell, clawing his way up the order. Enzo Cheng's car, we thought was going to come to life, to switch on a bit as the race went on, but Cheng seemed to have his measure. Dives down the inside, Cam Campbell. That's on Jim Polisina, and it would move him into 3rd place. Up in front with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:51.33. Enzo Cheng took the race win from Antoine Gattani.
You can see Adriano Giorgi there, the team principal at MC Corsa, cheering up on the wall. They're running 11 cars here this weekend. It's a massive effort again by that team to mobilise these cars and just have them, the cars and the drivers, as competitive as they are.
He's a great team boss too. I saw them out the back encouraging each other, a bit of soccer and things to keep the team bonding.
Yeah, pasta for lunch and some soccer.
Love it. Enzo Cheng gets out of the car. That is a sweet win for him. Gets the congratulations from the team. Simon Poole from Pirelli in the background there. So we'll hear from some of our top 3 very shortly. Well done to MC Corsa as well. Nice Saturday for that squad. Let's take you right into the midst of all of this now as he gets set to take the helmet off. Let's go to Charlie.
Enzo Cheng, that was a lights to flag victory. I'm just going to muscle my way through here as you take your helmet off. You did make that look very easy. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks a lot, but it wasn't that easy. There's triple rides we were going to take it out here, and I knew I had a bit more tyre than Antoine, so as long as I could hang on for 20, 25 minutes of the race, I knew I could take it home.
And what was exciting to watch is you're actually building that lead as well. Do you reckon you've tapped out? There's more in it.
No, right now I feel like pretty tapped out. So, yeah.
And the guys are actually talking a lot about the effort outside of the car for you, and it's really paying off once you're stepping inside the Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of data sessions with Ben, my coach, and some practice sessions outside of this that really helped me. So yeah, I think it's obviously shown in my performance today, and keen to keep it going.
Of course, back again tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
Congratulations. Alrighty, Antoine Gattani, I will pop on over. The Trofeo Pirelli class winner. Antoine, sorry, I'm going to jump straight on in here. We'll have a quick chat. Congratulations. That was a great race to watch. You couldn't just quite catch him.
Yeah, different wing settings. We could catch him on the straight, but around the corners he just kept pulling. Had older tyres from quali, but he's quick, he's doing well. I've got to lift my game tomorrow.
And how do you do that?
I have no idea, I'll ask the coach.
Sounds like a good plan. Congratulations.
Thank you, thanks.
And for our 488 class, Micho Stefan, There was many different battles throughout that one. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm just going to bash on in and get a quick chat with you, Michaud. Thank you for the entertainment. That was a lot of fun.
Good TV?
Absolutely. Talk us through it.
Can't wait to watch it. Well, got lucky to get ahead in the beginning. To hold it was very hard. I had a 296 in front of us. I got in front of that. I saw that my second place was not far behind me. Yeah, but took him as well. We had a bit of a tag and top between each other, and we both spun out, I think, at like 200 k's an hour. It was a great win. It was a great win. I'd like to thank my team, MC Corsa, my pit crew, my coach, Sam Ravin, and thank my family at home as well, my children. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. Thanked everybody there. That was excellent. And yes, it did make for good TV. One of the better Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Series races we've seen so far in the Championship's brief Australian history. Kralsey back with you in the commentary box as we continue to count down to a couple of blockbuster mini enduros still to come this afternoon. First Focus Radical Cup Australia is next at 20 to 4 local time. And then after that, the big one, Monochrome GT4 Australia will race into the setting sun for 1 hour with 29 cars and a whole bunch of different brands and championships, tightly packed and intensely competitive as well. It's just another look at the Ferraris in action here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park. It's a GT Festival, the Shannon's Speed Series this year, and this is absolutely no exception. So well done to Enzo Cheng, Gitani in second place, and Cameron Campbell in third place, with Jim Policina applying the pressure. The thumb screws all the way to the very end of that one, with Rod Wilson, the hugely experienced Rod Wilson, rounding out the top 5. That's the scene here at the Bend. It's actually warmer than it looks, just in the low to mid 20s at the moment. The breeze has just eased off a little bit too, so actually quite pleasant conditions here this afternoon. Good crowd milling around too out the back of the paddock and in the park and view sections all the way up on the run to turn 1 and the popular view up to turn 6 as well. So good to see people turning out in what is a massive fortnight for motorsport in South Australia as we get set for the Ferrari Podium. Porsche teams behind that are bumping out. They'll be back in action next week at the Supercars event here with Porsche Carrera Cup. But a dramatic weekend in Michelin Sprint Challenge, and young Jake Santalucia has a handy championship lead going into the final round. It was just reminded to me that he's got an exam to do for year 12 on the Friday of that round, so he's got a couple of months to think about that. And then what a day in GT land as well. A dramatic, dominant victory for the local team, for Team BRM, who are based just to the west of the Adelaide CBD. And a crushing victory for their Audi with Mark Rosser and Alex Peroni. What a season it's been. It started at Phillip Island, it rolled through New South Wales at Sydney Motorsport Park under the lights. Queensland Raceway was an epic weekend, the start of June. It's hard to believe Sandown was at the end of July, and it's been 6 weeks since then, but that was an incredible weekend too. And then we're here at the Bend this weekend. It all wraps up for GT4 and GT World Challenge at Hampton Downs. So the Speed Series and the Repco Next Gen EdZ Championship joining forces. It's basically a double header with the top of Australia and all the Kiwi categories. So GT New Zealand will be there. The GR86 New Zealand Championship will be running too. And Next Gen New Zealand runs over 6 rounds over summer. So a bit of a collab with them at the end of the season to round out the Aussie season. And I know that there will be local contenders joining the GT fields over there. Let's celebrate a great Ferrari race though. Here's Cameron van der Dungen.
Time now for the podium for race 1 of Ferrari Challenge. Presenting the trophies, Vincenzo Bombadiro from Ferrari Australasia. Firstly, the Trofeo Pirelli class. In third place, Jim Policina. In second place, Cam Campbell. In first place, Antoine Gitani. Antoine will also be presented with the Trofeo Pirelli. For the Coppa Dealer of Trofeo Pirelli class, please welcome Ferrari Sydney. The podium is yours. Well done. That's our podium for the Trofeo Pirelli class. Now, we prepare for the podium for the Coppa Gel class. In third place, Masahiro Taguchi. In second place, Emil Norden. In first place, and your 2025 class champion, Enzo Cheng. The Coppa Dealer, Ferrari Sydney. This is your podium for Coppa Shell class, race 1, Ferrari Challenge. Gentlemen, the podium is yours. Congratulations to each of our drivers in the Coppa Shell class. Champagne well earned. We now move to the podium for the Trofeo Pirelli 488 class. In third place, please put your hands together for Baby K. In second place, Paul Brockbank. In first place, and your 2025 class champion, Micho Stefan. Micho will also be presented with the Trofeo Pirelli. Hold on, we're not there yet. The last of our podium, the Coppa Dealer, Ferrari City. Hold. And gentlemen, the podium is yours.
Fucking cocksuckers.